Now, it's been described as the deadliest accident on Mount Everest in the history of modern climbing. Officials in Nepal say at least 12 local guides are being killed in an avalanche just a few hundred metres above base camp. 3 guides remain missing. They'd climbed to an area nicknamed Popcorn Field, that's some 6,000 metres above sea level. They were fixing ropes for hundreds of less experienced climbers. Aided by rescue helicopters, at least 7 people were picked up alive from the mountain and the injured were sent to hospital in the capital. One survivor said dozens of guides were on the move when the avalanche hit. Well, joining us now from Middlesbrough is Alan Hinkes. He's the first Briton to have climbed all 14 of the world's mountains that are more than 8,000 metres. Alan Hinkes, how come this happened? These were very experienced guides.
It really is shocking and tragic. I probably know some of them, so it is a bit upsetting, but it is just bad luck. If the avalanche had happened an hour later or an hour earlier, then it would have missed them. So it is really bad luck, and it happens that there was a lot of people, a lot of these experienced Nepali climbers, guides, carrying loads, setting the camps up for the other climbers.
You say bad luck, but surely if there were adverse weather conditions, one might have been able to have told that and perhaps postponed the climb.
I don't think there was any bad weather. It was just an avalanche. I think it was a big serac that collapsed. That's a big ice cliff which collapsed above them, and then it would set a snow slope off and they'd be engulfed in huge chunks of ice and snow. And it is a bit of an inexact science, avalanche prediction, a bit like meteorology really, and these sort of avalanches only happen every 10 or 15 years, and if it had happened in the night, it would have been okay, you know. So
what, I mean, really, this kind of thing is totally unavoidable?
It is really. Avalanches happen even in Britain and in the Alps and all over. Wherever you're on these big mountains, there is always the risk of avalanche. But the area they were in is particularly dangerous. The Khumbu Icefall, which was first climbed in the 1950s, and you've got to pass through this extremely dangerous part of the route to get higher on Everest. And as you said, it is just above base camp, and it leads up from about 5,700 metres to about 6,100 metres. And I know when I went through it, I was, well, almost scared. It is I was pretty. It is a dangerous spot, yeah.
Yeah, and this area they'd climbed to, called Popcorn Field. Why is it called that? And what's it like there?
Well, I don't remember it called that when I was there, but I presume it's got lots of blocks of ice on it. So, and that'll be from previous avalanches. So you do go through areas that have what's called avalanche debris on them, so you know it's a place where avalanches happen not infrequently, and you usually try and get through those places as quickly as possible. You usually try and get through them either pre-dawn or just after dawn when the slopes are frozen, and that's when this accident happened, just after dawn. So they were doing all the right things. It's just bad luck.
And tell us a little bit about your own experiences, Alan. I mean, you've climbed the world's mountains at more than 8,000 metres. I mean, you obviously know the kind of risks that you are entering into when you pursue this kind of activity.
Yes, of course, when you get even higher on the mountain, above 8,000 metres, it's known as the death zone, so there's even greater risks up there just from the extreme altitude, acute mountain sickness. But you're always in the risk of avalanche and bad weather. But as I say, this isn't anything to do with bad weather. It was just a slope or a serac that released. But I guess most people do accept those risks. These Nepalis are well-paid guides, like myself, I'm a guide, and they're prepared to accept those risks. But it is a massive tragedy when you get this amount of people that perish in one go. You know, there's not been an accident as bad as this since 1922, really.
Very tragic. Alan Hinkes, thanks very much indeed for joining us.